globalization, socialist society, money's not necessary anymore, Bitcoin's irrelevant.
People made money,
Yeah.
but they lost it because they didn't have basic understanding of when to sell. This is, again, it all goes back to the trading education, right?
My sister-in-law, when she asks me, how do I buy cryptocurrency, that's when I sell everything. Because that's a euphoria moment.
My mentor used to say all the time, when you want to tell somebody about your profits, it's time to sell.
Yeah.
I don't think Bitcoin's going anywhere. I don't think it is, but I also can see it aging.
Ethereum or a couple of others which have potential to be the next heir.
They get emotionally attached and then they don't want to sell it. And then when it goes back down after it's pumped up and they've seen all these profits and then it goes back down, it's more important for them to be like, I'm going to stick with it because it's going to go back up. Everyone's going to love it.
Do you mean I can't buy pudgy penguins because the penguins are cute?
Of course you can.
Well, you can if you want to. AI, bit overhyped this cycle, do you think? Welcome back to the Crypt Talk podcast. I'm Paul with Hola Prime X, and I'm joined today again by Oliver and Jacob. And we're going to be looking at today about altcoins. But is Bitcoin going to be the king forever? We're going to dive in and find out. Is it going to be the king?
At least for the next decade, I don't see it changing at all.
10 years, Bitcoin's going to hold in the crown.
Absolutely, if not longer, to be honest.
Well, like Queen Elizabeth kind of sort of thing?
You never know. You never know. It will depend completely on the institutional development, but for the next time being, I don't see Bitcoin shifting at all. It will remain the king for a long time still.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you can't compare apples with pears, and I think it's Bitcoin versus everything else. Yeah. There's nothing that's kind of run in the same way or not run. Is probably more the point. And I think what could take the crown isn't another cryptocurrency, but it's probably technology as a whole. Something else will shift and it will move out the way for it. But as far as we're concerned, in terms of what we have to look at right now, I can't see any contenders.
And well, certainly the way the market is at the moment highlights that, as altcoins have been really struggling. And it highlights the disparity and the difference between the rest of the cryptocurrency market and Bitcoin. Bitcoin at the moment is seen as a hedge, it's seen as a safe haven, whereas the altcoin market is obviously seen as a risk asset, which it is. And therefore, we have this very strange situation where Bitcoin is extremely bullish, but the rest of the altcoin market is struggling a little bit. And we're hoping that will change, of course. But when you talk about, is someone going to replace the king? We look at the last year or so, can't see it happening anytime soon. So I think you're probably right. But where are the altcoins at the moment? I mean, what's going on with them?
Yeah, it's diabolical. It's not what anyone expected right now.
Whoa.
But what I would say is, when I'd say you buy when there's blood on the street, and it's certainly there at the moment. I think the prices we're seeing right now are prices that we've seen in the bear market, and we did have a bit of a pump since then, which is what's concerned most people. We've mentioned it before. Things don't like to follow patterns. We try and create patterns. We try and create rotations, and we try and bank on things like the Bitcoin halving and these events that we've seen in the past. And they come around and they don't play out as you expect. It throws you a curveball. And I think, you've got to get to that point where everyone is literally given up on an altcoin season happening and they're selling everything and that's that. And then it will kick in.
That's when it goes.
And that's what it will do. So, and in the same breath, I've always banked on my sister-in-law when she asks me, how do I buy cryptocurrency? That's when I sell everything because that's a euphoria moment.
Yes. When you want to tell somebody, my mentor used to say all the time, when you want to tell somebody about your profits, it's time to sell.
Yeah, right? Exactly. For
sure. But it's definitely not that time in altcoins because, I mean, I've been spending the last 6 months to a year essentially bringing down what positions I can through what I call repositioning, where I'm just trying to I've got some positions, I'll admit, which are out of reach, right? Because I got caught out in November, just like everybody else, because the 240 days after the halving happened the last 3 cycles, and it started to happen after the election, and then it didn't. And then biggest liquidation event in history. Yeah. And I think the challenge is for people because it's always, when you ask them what you want to invest in, Pepe, Solana, it's always this XRP, it's always the same things. But the altcoin market is so much more than that. And maybe the whole concept about what's going to be the next king isn't the right conversation, because I actually don't trade Bitcoin very often. Right? No. I did when I was first learning. It's a barometer for me. It's a marker for the rest of the market. And if Bitcoin is at support, then I'm entering a long position on the altcoins because I can get much more gains from it. Yeah. But my investment portfolio, of course, is very considerate of the type of asset I'm putting money in. So I wouldn't have any real problem putting 100K down on Bitcoin, but I would on a low cap.
Yeah.
Right. And I think this is a part of education, which in previous podcasts we've talked about. It's making sure that you recognize what is the asset you are looking at. And not all crypto is created equal, not all coins are created equal. And you can say to people that very simply, well, if it's a low cap, put in less capital, of course. But in the meme space, it's not as simple as that. So how do we deal with memes? I mean, that volatility where they just explode and then disappear. How do we deal with that?
Everything does follow structure to an extent, and you were talking about using Bitcoin as an indicator more so than trading it these days, and I think that's true. And I think you can find certain coins that work well with others, and they basically mirror them. I think it's MKR with ETH is basically the same coin. Seeing Bitcoin start to reverse in some way, and you can expect it to happen an hour later on a particular coin. AVAX has been doing quite well against Bitcoin recently. Then it's great to go in there and capture them. I think meme coins, I haven't quite found the correlation for it yet. DEXI with the euro versus the USD or even the pound versus USD, brilliant. 1-to-1, it's easy to do. Some of them extend more than others. But yeah, with the meme coin sector, yes, it follows Bitcoin like everything does, but it's so volatile. It's really hard to capture that. And I know that, people have had a little bit of luck on these initial launches to exchanges. I played around with it and lost out, but the ultimate strategy or the gamble was basically enter as soon as it launches and sell at 30 minutes afterwards, regardless of the price. And you would get away with it sometimes, but it's no strategy at all, really.
No, I mean, I have a strategy with memes, but it's completely different to my other basic TA strategy, and it's just wait till it's on the floor, buy it, and then wait for the pump.
But then, how do you know which meme coins are good to go and which are at the floor and will rebound? Or in theory, you never know. But I think personally, I don't like meme coins, but sometimes you do have to trade them because that's where the volume is. Sometimes it's good, right? When the volume comes in,
it's trying to find something unique about something that's not. It's like oh, this is like, if you think about like NFTs, this is the first PFP collection from this exchange, so I'm going to pick one up and just sit on that, because as if that means something. You know what I mean? And it's like, and you're kind of hoping they're going to come back to it someday and say that was the first one we launched. But you're trying to make something out of something that's nothing really.
No.
And it's the same thing in the meme coin piece. I mean, the trying to make a strategy out of nothing, I'd always look at following, because like we talked about before, it was like, is influence more important than utility? And in that space, of course, because they've not got any utility. So the idea is go see if they've got a Telegram, see what they've got in terms of website and any little information you can get. But if there's some nutter going mad 24/7 on Telegram and there's 2,000 people watching and it's just launched onto an exchange, you might take your luck a little bit for 30 minutes or so. But
absolutely, and that's why I think. You mentioned influence, right, over utility. That's where I believe Twitter or X comes in a lot, because you've then got people on X or crypto Twitter will talk a lot about the latest meme. The more traction the latest meme gets, the harder it will pump. Right, the more attractive it is. And you can look at things like there's a channel out there on Twitter called Alt Daddy, right, which I mean, it's a great name, but of course there is. But what they'll do is they'll do the most tweeted about cryptos or ticker symbols over the past 24 hours. And you're guaranteed to find a couple of meme coins in there. Based on the past 24 hours, Pump. So Pump Fund launched earlier this week. So Pump was second yesterday. It's not a good coin, but it gets talked about.
And who's driving the narrative? That's the thing. It's like who is driving the... because obviously every marketing campaign starts with an idea, and then the people who are pushing it don't necessarily privy to how it started, and they think it's look at GameStop, right? Now, that obviously was a unique example of a genuine kind of hype-driven, people-first idea, but in the meme space, it's just not. It's people, it's institutions, it's people who are trying to make money off retail essentially.
Yeah.
Right. But it's difficult to say.
Exit liquidity at the end of the day.
Yeah, but it's also difficult when you look at like Dogecoin now. I can't believe I just said that. No, I'm just joking. But Dogecoin, it's got price history now. You have information and data points on volatility, so you can trade it now. But when you've got coins or tokens which are launching, and you're just like, oh, I'm going to put a market order and hope for the best. I mean, that's not for the uninitiated.
Yeah,
it's not even for us, really.
No.
So
I completely stay away from it, and it's not because it's like, oh, you've lost millions and now you can't touch it again. It's for me, it's out of my control. I like to control something. I like to understand it, and it's completely non-understandable. So anyway, but you know, and so for me, it's like I'll look at this stuff, I'll read the news, and I'll go, oh yeah, I missed this massive pump, but I don't care because I can still make, you know, the money in a good way, and I know that it's not gambling, because there's a strategy behind it, and you can do that day in day out, and it's like, to me, that's far more sustainable.
And I do want to underscore for people as well, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that a lot of the problem in the space, in the meme space, at least originally, like the Dogecoin millionaire thing, where people are putting so much money on it. It's actually, these people made money.
Yeah.
But they lost it because they didn't have basic understanding of when to sell.
Yeah.
Right. And this is, again, it all goes back to the trading education, right? And when you've got, and that's the problem. I mean, it all comes down to the bell curve, right? The basic market cycle. And we don't have to go and do a TED talk on every single indicator to protect people. We can just draw a bell curve and say, don't buy at the top, right? And how many people would save so much?
Of course,
right?
and it's interesting because you just made me think then as well. The major difference between, say, like meme coin space and you know, even like decentralized finance is basically people get sucked into this emotional love for a coin in the meme space so much, and there's nothing backing it up. There's no good reason for it, but they get emotionally attached, and then they don't want to sell it. And then when it goes back down after it's pumped up and they've seen all these profits, and then it goes back down, it's more important for them to be like, I'm going to stick with it because it's going to go back up. Everyone's going to love it, and they'll, if anything, they just put more and more money in. And the developer's long gone. They went at the top, and they've left everyone else behind. It's not coming back up, but people get so attached to it. And if you were on the board of directors for a big public company, would you be attached to the company or attached to the profit and the expectations that you've got in the target that year? You know what I mean? Like people have got to keep a level head and understand that you're not in it to hold a coin. You're in it to make money and then get out again. And it's understanding when to enter and when to get away.
Wait, do you mean I can't buy pudgy penguins because the penguins are cute?
Of course you can.
Well, you can if you want to. No, but you're right. I mean, it's like you load up TradingView, and every 20 times you're with Dogecoin, a little dog starts waving at you, and I'm like, get off my chart.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like, this is a serious sport, right? Like, come on. And you're right, but it's true. And I'm like, when I look at that, I'm like, just get out of my life. Yeah. Like, I don't. I don't want to see it. But you're right. The whole thing about tokens and people falling in love with them, the opposite is true as well. We've got a wonderful follower on Hola Prime. His name's Robert. I hope he's paying attention. Give him a shout out, Robert. Robert, how you doing? He's afraid of Solana because he had a bad trade. Right. And it's like a get back on the horse sort of thing. So it works both ways. And for me, I have rules. I never trade the same thing twice, even if there's a good setup. Not twice in a row, because it's about discipline. And I always tend to take profits below my target to maintain discipline. And it frequently hits the target because my TA and my analysis is correct. But I know.
You banks.
Well, the thing is, it's like if I'm looking at just a few little pips or satoshis away from my profit, and I start crossing fingers, right, and then all of a sudden I might be fine with that trade, but I've just bad practices sneaked in.
And there's more than one way to skin a cat. Like I used to always take profit at I'd have various points where I expected reactions, and I'd go, right, every time I expect a reaction on the move up or move down, I'm going to take, I don't know, 33% out, something like that. And then I would get frustrated because it would go all the way, and I could have been like, oh, if I didn't take all that money out along the way, it'd have hit it, and I'd have had, you know, and but then you can start managing that with like moving your stop loss up to entry. You can manage risk as you know, and still keep it unrealized, and you can take enough to keep you happy that you've banked that day and it's a green day. But you can also leave some to run, and then you've got that little hopeism yourself, that little dopamine hit from leaving it running on the chart all the way to the end. and you've got zero risk because your stop loss is now at entry. So even if it comes all the way back down, you've banked half of it and it's hit your entry spot. So what? You know, nothing lost.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. And would you say that is a case of discipline and maturity, which you can only get through trading as you learn and get hit and knocked down?
Absolutely. And we had what was it? The CPI data came out earlier this week, and I had some trades on in Forex, and an hour beforehand, I was on the phone to my trading partner, and we were talking about what do we do here, because we want to stay in it. We actually think, looking at all the analysis, this is going to be positive, and we're in it for a long. So we're going, but it's stupid. We never trade over the top of news. It's stupid to do it, but we wanted to. So we took half out on both the trades. We moved the stop loss to entry. What did it do? It wicked down, and it probably hit us by 0.00009 or something like that. And it just literally, it was like it came down for us and just tapped it, and then it shot straight up past our take profit. Yeah. So it knocked us out of the trade, but we weren't sad about it because ultimately we knew what it was going to do. It did what we expected it to do. Yes, it knocked us out. Maybe if we left our stop loss not at entry, we'd have still been in that trade. But how do you know if it's going to go $5 less or $500 less? You don't. And it's not worth it. Just move on to the next one. But you've still banked. You've enjoyed watching it. You were still right. So you can be happy in the fact you were right in terms of the direction. Yeah. Move on to the next one.
Yeah. And that's something unfortunately in the meme space, it promotes, getting attached to them. Right. And that's part of the issue. I mean, okay, so memes I don't think are a threat to Bitcoin right now. No, populist tokens maybe in the future, but is Ethereum the heir apparent?
I think it's too early to tell whether Ethereum itself is the next heir to the throne, but there is definitely Ethereum or a couple of others which have potential to be the next heir, right? It all depends on how institutions come in and what these blockchains, whether that's ETH, whether that's Chainlink. You've mentioned Near Protocol before. We've talked about BitTensor as well. There's loads of different blockchains that are able to help facilitate this move to find the next heir. It's just a case of which one is the most beneficial.
I mean, because we've previously been talking about the future of the space, and that blockchain and the tech is ultimately what we want to see form the foundation where it properly integrates in the fabric of society. That's not Bitcoin. No. It's Ethereum. It's Solana.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. It's Ethereum, it's Solana, it's Sui. It's these people that they're trying to do all the same thing, but they're trying to outdo the other. Even Hydra's come in now, and they seem to be.
Sorry, Hydra?
They're being.
What? They're Captain America's? What?
Could be. What? They're making a comeback.
What?
But I think it's first past the post. It's going to be who has the quickest transaction speed for the lowest cost and the most user friendly platform for development. And then it's going to come down to getting lucky with what the developers are building on there.
And is Ethereum 2 doing the job?
I mean, for me, I think it was definitely an improvement. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. It didn't meet my objectives.
Well, it didn't meet my criteria either, and I have sent them a letter.
No, it has potential. It can still fix it itself, and it can still do better than what it's doing now. Mm-hmm. But there are others that are trying to do exactly the same thing, and they are pushing the boundaries.
I think Solana's doing a great job. I met with the team in London a few times, development team, and the stuff they're working on is just crazy. It's just great.
I've got some insider information. This is good.
No, but they're very, very motivated, very ambitious, and they've constantly got a million things going on. And we talk about grassroots. They're starting at grassroots as a shout out for Crypto Mondays, where they do an event where they're bringing lots of these projects on blockchain people together, and they're going and talking about what they're doing and building, and it's very inspiring, and it's to see it kind of happening in the background. It's obviously not being publicized widely enough, but they're doing a great job, and I think I can continue to see that growing a quick trajectory.
So is Ethereum more of a queen then, which could be replaced?
Yeah, I mean, it's got longevity. It's got a lot of. I mean, people value stuff based on its current token price, and it's quite different from Solana. But I think the utility and liquidity is the two things that are going to matter going forward now. And I think from a utility standpoint, I'd put Solana up there as a big challenger.
Telegram token.
Yeah, but he's got some controversy behind Tan, hasn't he? So and stuff like that. I don't really.
Which came out at the very wrong time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think again they were doing some great work. They were building some good stuff. I think as a platform, it was getting a lot of traction. It sort of faded away for me, at least in my algorithm. I'm not seeing too much about it recently.
No. I was looking at the chart just the other day. I mean, you got any on your radar which you think could potentially attract Bitcoin to put its arms around?
I really like Chainlink.
Yeah,
I think Chainlink is a really good project. And other than that, I keep nagging about BitTensor, but from an AI perspective, out of the bigger ones, that one is up there for sure.
I got hurt on that AX16 or whatever it's called, something like that. I basically bought it and then they decided just to get rid of the project. I think.
Yeah, I mean, and that does certainly happen. I mean, people is Bitcoin invincible? Not in the eyes of quantum computing.
No.
Right.
No. This is where everything was talking. The evolution of AI was to quantum computing, and I was keeping an eye on quite a few projects in that space, but I never made the jump. So I mean, again, I'm in a position now where I'm just waiting to get rid of all my bags. I want to just get to a point where I feel like we're at the top, or we're sort of 10% left to go, or something like that. So to not be wrong, and then to clear it all down into capital, because it's better as dry powder for me to be able to utilize it as it is,
Oh,
and then I'll buy back again. But it's a scary thought, because most people want to just round trip it.
Yeah, but I mean,
what if you short the top?
Well, I will do that too. That's why I want to use it. That's what I'm going to use the capital for.
He's not getting out of the market. He's not. He's just getting started.
Not retiring. No.
I mean, look, Bitcoin is a very unique entity, and it's why the cryptocurrency space exists in the first place. Mm-hmm. It is you go back to the days of all the hard forks and Bitcoin Cash and all this kind of stuff. It is such a unique entity, and I haven't seen anything which matches it in that particular guise. But when you do look at the market, as we just talked about, in terms of the tech side of it, Bitcoin falls short there. It does fall short, and it always has.
Yeah.
And Ethereum and all these more blockchain, for even the stuff which supports some of the meme coins, it is a great space. But when you look at the altcoins and you look at what they're suffering from now, it's really difficult to see them as contenders, because whereas Bitcoin is so strong, but nothing is coming close. And why are institutions? I mean, I know that obviously there is ETF applications from Trump's World Financial Liberty Company, which is looking to put Solana and other altcoins in part of an ETF with Bitcoin, and this is happening, of course. But I'm struck. It doesn't quite make sense to me, actually, when I look at it.
It's because we're not waiting for cryptocurrency adoption. We're waiting for technology adoption. Yeah. And when we get the technology adoption, that's why, the answer to the question about Bitcoin being dethroned isn't by a cryptocurrency, but by technology potentially.
Yeah.
And it's the technology adoption that will drive the price and drive the, usability more so than people getting into crypto and buying more.
I mean, with all this. with all this stablecoin stuff, and obviously the legislation and regulation which is coming around in the world, and in many different guises, with Visa offering USDT for South America, and obviously a lot of governments all looking to rush to to get their own stablecoin, the digital version of their currency. Is Bitcoin, this whole Bitcoin ATM thing, is this going to be Bitcoin's future, or is it not going to be for Bitcoin? It's going to be more stable coins for these sort of transactions. And therefore, if that's the case, what's, apart from being a store of value, what's Bitcoin's use case?
Yeah, I mean...
So that was really downer.
No.
I feel like Bitcoin
right,
just
and
sighed.
I'm trying to debunk it. So what happens to USDC when the US dollar dies? How is it? What's it stable against? Where's the store of value against that? Is that gold? Is that Bitcoin? Or I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that.
Well, that's the other side of it, isn't it? Because it's if Federal Reserve is looking, as an example, just in the United States and other places around the world, to use Bitcoin as a as a treasury asset.
So that's what it becomes. It's the digital, which people have always said is Bitcoin's the digital gold. So if the original banks were backed up 1-to-1 against gold reserve, which we know they're not now, then stable coins are backed up against Bitcoin as a digital gold reserve.
So Fort Knox is full of Bitcoin, right?
But there's much less rent to pay.
It's just the one USB stick.
You're just going to put on one?
We just want one storage unit.
That's the story for Oceans 14, for sure.
They can keep it right next to the Coca-Cola recipe.
How do we link Coca-Cola to crypto? If they have a token. And will they? Now, will Coca-Cola have a token in the future?
Very well. I mean, isn't Amazon trying to create their own stable coin as well? I've heard something about that. PayPal's just started it.
Yeah. Go on in layman's terms. What would be the benefit of Coca-Cola's creating a token? I mean, I guess in terms of doing discounts and loyalty schemes and things like that to generate revenue. But the way I see some of the projects, when you think of like Solana and stuff, I see it as their company stock. Coca-Cola have a company stock.
Modern stock.
It's modern stock.
Blockchain
it's Web3 stock. Yeah.
Because Coinbase is obviously looking to put taking over the NASDAQ essentially and putting these on the exchange, and it's not that far removed from what we're talking about. Exactly.
So Coca-Cola would be doubling up basically. They've already got stock. But the point is, so yes, maybe they'll have a token, but if they did, I think the argument for it would be revenue generating as in terms of like loyalty schemes and things like that. It's a way to gather more data.
So Pepsi shouldn't bother. Tab clear.
But I mean, in terms of loyalty schemes, absolutely. So there's already a couple of companies out there, especially within the oil industry, where if you own a certain amount of shares within their company, and you're holding the shares on a partnered exchange, as long as it's linked to your fuel card, you've got discounted rates, right? If we can do the same thing with the blockchain and have it also almost as an NFT, right?
It feels more NFT, doesn't it, than tokenized? Because tokenized, it's like, well, what value means what? But NFT wise, I mean, what's the benefit to them then? Data, I guess. They'll have data. They'll get more data from the consumer.
So
buying habits.
So could we see Bitcoin dethroned by a populist token takeover?
Dogecoin, perhaps?
If that happens, I am leaving the space. No, I mean, but it's just interesting to see where the space is going to go. I don't think Bitcoin's going anywhere. I don't think it is. But I can see it aging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aging into, like you say, just becoming a gold reserve. Something like that, more so like than utility focus.
Yeah. Less kind of like, less articles about Bitcoin's going to the move, more just a ticker on a news somewhere. Or it's 1,036,000.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. AI, bit overhyped this cycle, do you think?
I wouldn't say AI. AI in itself is perhaps overhyped, but AI in this cycle, not.
Right.
So because there's so much hype for AI and everyone is looking to AI to be the next big thing, to generate the next a lot of money, to help with the industries that it works, that all partners with. Because of that will keep fueling the AI industry and keep more money in it. But in general, AI, I would say, is overhyped.
Yeah. I mean, it hasn't quite taken off in the way I thought it would. I mean,
in what way?
Well, I think it's probably a product of the recent stagnation in the altcoin market, and the meme coin has always been retail sandbox, and that's why it's top. Because the rest of the altcoin market is just stagnating, and then just because people just are playing a little bit with the meme coins, it's on the top position. And maybe if that wasn't the case, AI would still be seen that way. But we look at the direction AI is going in, and we're looking at look at Apple as an example, how it's stumbling and how it's fumbled the ball with AI technology. And when we all talk about AI potentially in the case of like, oh, it's going to be the end of the world, right? It's going to be the Matrix or whatever, right? But the reality is Amazon still can't get Alexa to have a proper conversation with me, right? And therefore, is the space as a result and the tokens associated with it, therefore overhyped? I mean, that's my view of it. I mean, I'm invested in AI stuff, and of course, but
I agree. I think it's like I'm still waiting to see the pudding. Proof is in the pudding. We're still waiting to see that. Like, I want to see. We can see how good AI is day to day when you're using it just to retype an email. You can't be bothered to put a nice tone on, but you know, what we haven't seen is how we're utilizing that within these blockchain projects, because we're not currently seeing these projects playing out so much. It's all sandbox stuff, and I think you can see just the expanse of how amazing it could be, but you haven't proved that you've got it in these projects yet and how it's working. And you know what I mean? Once you get like with OpenAI, once it's given to the population, everyone's using it, they can realize how incredible this is or could be. But it hasn't been utilized in these in some of these projects just yet.
And like you said about the pudding, I don't think the space has landed anywhere close.
So perhaps the best way to do that is for these AI projects to start promoting themselves to existing big institutions and have an AI project try and fix the Alexa issue for Amazon rather than Amazon trying to fix it themselves. Outsource it, get an AI company on or off the blockchain to fix it for them, almost like an acquisition then. Right? You just acquire the company.
I think they did try something like that. I mean, I think it's such a difficult space, and the technology is quite misunderstood, for sure. But I don't think it's going to be taking over Bitcoin's throne just yet. But it's like one of the things I'm invested in. I won't mention the token, but it's pretty integrated with development of the Apple Vision headset, right? And we see how that's kind of flailing a little bit. So I personally think it's been a little bit disappointing, but I think, like with anything, because you know we have the DeFi has its day, NFTs have its day, memes having its day, and maybe we will see after this cycle some big players in the AI space which are dominating it going forward. But my thought process is potentially like, okay, so is the whole premise of this conversation, you know, the king and the crown, right? Suggesting it's weakening. But with all this ETF and institutional adoption, is it just going to get more powerful, more stronger as the king, more embedded as a ruler for the next 5 years? I mean, do you see
next
that happening?
5 years?
Yeah,
I'd say so.
Yeah,
I'd say so. But for the next 5 years, Bitcoin will strengthen its position as the king, and then we might start to see
the queen stab it in the back.
Absolutely.
Game of Thrones style, red wedding, gold wedding.
I mean, it goes back to what you were saying just now with AI, right? It's not where we expected it to be. It still has room to develop.
That's very true.
So give it another 5, give it another 10 years, and it might be where it needs to be in order to try to dethrone Bitcoin.
And then you'll wish you had bought it now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I just think it's going to just solidify itself in its own category. It's going to be that gold reserve, and it's not going to be. No one's going to be looking to dethrone it, because the definition of that might be, you know, trying to overcome the value, which I just think is not going to be possible. But instead, they'll find their own place. These other projects will find their own place. It's kind of fitting in with utility and with technology and that sort of thing. And instead, the conversation will be around, you know, which company is performing better, Ethereum or Solana?
Yes, exactly. I mean, look, Bitcoin is quite revered, and we haven't really been that critical of it. Why don't we try and be critical of Bitcoin for a minute? If I can. I'm struggling, but what is its weaknesses? What could be its downfall? Apart from
someone coming out of the woodwork, Satoshi coming out of the woodwork, and we realizing that actually there is a load of control centralized, and that someone could potentially press the button to go to zero or cash out, or you know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah, there's that. There's that.
We realizing it's Elon Musk.
Imagine.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's Elon Musk. I think he's very busy with other things. But
no, he might be the creator of Dogecoin, though.
Oh well, look. Rate. I mean, the ambiguity surrounding Bitcoin does make it very. It's part of the mystique.
Yeah.
Right. But you know, we talked about in terms of the blockchain technology, and it's a little bit cumbersome. But it's difficult to predict what is going to dethrone it. And is it going to be a culling, or is it just going to just slowly fade into, as we talked about, into it's just going to be a reserve asset which people look on just like gold, right? I mean, because I was looking at a chart from gold in the 1970s and mirroring it exactly with kind of Bitcoin's price action right now, and it's pretty stupid. You shouldn't be trading off that, obviously, but gold just went up and kept going up from the 70s and hasn't stopped.
Yeah.
And there's a question on here in front of me, which is, can Bitcoin ever be stopped? Will this be the monarchy forever? I mean, could you look at like the UK and you look at our monarchy, it's weakening. Mm-hmm. It's weakening, right? I'm not saying what I agree with, but it's weakening, right? The around the world, there's people, Jamaica's not particularly happily being part of the Commonwealth, all this kind of stuff, right? But is Bitcoin going to suffer that to a degree?
It needs to, no, not unless something can replace it in a better way. What does Bitcoin achieve right now? Well, it's obviously a good investment in terms of the price keeps going up, but it's the store of value. So Bitcoin was replacing gold, or it's an alternative to gold.
Yeah.
So let's say it's dethroned gold. So something needs to do the same thing as that to Bitcoin. It needs to be able to meet that objective of store of value in a more convenient way that right now my brain can't comprehend what's more convenient.
Is Bitcoin in the modern age better than gold?
It depends. Physical gold, I would say no.
Could you turn the internet off? It's game over, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was why I'd say no to physical gold.
There is a switch.
Just exactly. Just hold it. Yeah, it's Fort Knox next to the Coca-Cola recipe. No, so I think physical gold beats it, but only for that reason, because everything can be switched off.
It's very heavy.
I know, we're going to get down there, aren't we?
It's very heavy.
Because the other thing is globalization, socialist society, money's not necessarily more. Bitcoin's irrelevant.
Head up to a close, perhaps. What could be better, instead of deconstructing Bitcoin and criticizing it? What could be better? Now, I'm struggling. Deflationary cycle, which can be traded. What's better? What are the? I mean, obviously you can talk about transaction speed and blockchain and I mean, okay, so Bitcoin. I've got one. Go on. Global warming.
Ooh, okay.
Electricity usage, mining, right? All of that.
Oh, right? So you mean reducing down the impact from that perspective?
Yeah, because it's not particularly friendly to our world.
That'll be done in it won't be long until it's done anyway. But you mean the whole processing in general?
What fixes that?
NVIDIA and AMD and whatnot creating better units.
So it's NVIDIA's fault.
Absolutely. Global warming.
I'm sure they really appreciate that. So it's your fault for global warming because of Bitcoin mining. I mean, it's true. It is true. But I don't want to really put that on NVIDIA. NVIDIA's destroyed the world. I'd prefer to put that on governments. And I think this is the thing. And when we're looking at Bitcoin as king, every king is fallible. Every king has flaws. And not every king or monarch is like Queen Elizabeth. But is there something better than Queen Elizabeth? And is it Bitcoin? Right? Now, what a weird thing to say, right? But it's very interesting to see these unique things, these unique entities which just stand the test of time, and just people love them and they love them and they love them, and it just keeps working. Right? And so it's going to be very interesting what happens, but I do think ultimately that maybe the premise of this podcast is incorrect, that there won't be a dethroning. There'll just be maybe a nice retirement, perhaps, where we just sit and enjoy the sun, if there's sun in Fort Knox, which I'm sure there isn't, right? But maybe that's it. And maybe there will always just be pretenders.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, do we agree with that?
Absolutely. Keep it as a safety asset, treasury, and all of the other cryptos, altcoins, they're going to be what make our future.
Yeah. Lay the pathway for the technology.
Yeah.
Whereas Bitcoin is always going to be the thing we put under our bed to make sure we can. I mean, I can't believe they don't do black Lambos. Why do they not do black Lambos? Like black is. Look, Henry Ford said, any color, as long as it's black. But interesting place to.
It's like a red Ferrari.
Well, I ain't got a problem with red Ferraris, but Lamborghinis really aren't my style. I mean, like green.
I mean, Lamborghinis are prone to blowing up. Do you really want a black car?
Well,
heating up and then the engine heating up and
well, and the segue, I suppose, is that we just want Bitcoin to keep blowing up all the time.
Yes.
And that might be the end. But yes, so I think Bitcoin is going to be king for a while longer, but the altcoins, of course, still have a role. But I think that's it for now. That was a really good discussion, guys. Thank you very much, Oliver and Jacob. And of course, we'll be back next time for more interesting crypto talk. But I'm Paul with Hola Prime X. Thank you so much. Catch you next time.
Hola Prime, trade with transparency.